What is good, YouTube? It's Quinn DW20. Quinn Wade here coming to you talking about the Houston Rockets. They try to get Chris Bosh. They don't play through Dwight Howard enough. James Harden has horrible shot selection, even though he improved his field goal percentage last year to 43 to 45. We gotta see after this offseason they lose Chandler Person, playmaker and a scorer. He's a good passer. He's a good ball handler. He's a player that you would love to keep. And then they had the option to keep him anyway because they allowed him to get out the team option. They allowed him not they took it off, so they could have actually kept him for under $1 million. And then one thing we got to talk about is that how is the Houston Rockets going to play? That shooting the ball. No, we ain't gonna start off like that. I mean, let's just go right through that then, because this is gonna be a long video. I'm gonna try to make it quick. But the Houston Rockets got Dwight Howard and James Harden. They don't use Dwight Howard the way they should be. Dwight is no way you should have a top 10 player averaging 18 points a game when you only have mediocre role players. Chandler Parsons, James Harden was the only good players to me. Jeremy Lin can score, but he has bad defense. He paid in the passing lanes, but he easy to score up on, and he was inconsistent a lot. Matter of fact, Jeremy Lin always been inconsistent. He was hot for a little bit, but then when they start playing against the better teams, and especially when he was in New York, he started fizzling out. So you got two consistent players that can put up points against anybody: James Harden and Dwight Howard. Dwight Howard only gets 11 shot attempts per game. Last year, he put up 18 points on high field goal percentage. If you want to win, you got to play more through Dwight than James Harden. James Harden obviously is the better scorer because he's a ball handler, because he's a guard. He has more ways to score. Dwight Howard is a more efficient way to win basketball games because he's scoring easier points. His post moves has been good, especially like I said in that Portland series. Dwight Howard putting up 20 points every game, and high 20. He even went for 30 a couple times. Dwight Howard showed that he can score against anybody, and Robin Hood Lopez ain't the best person to use against. Robin Lopez is a serviceable center, and Dwight Howard torched him, and then Dwight Howard blocked shots. So Dwight Howard showing that he a top 10 player, and he one of the best two-way players. They gotta play through Dwight Howard. Dwight Howard should shoot at least 15 to 16 shots a game at the least, especially since you don't have Ashik to take shots and put backs. Especially since you don't have Jeremy Lin to take shots. Dwight Howard should up his field goal attempts to 16 shots at the least. James Harden should have around the same he had last year because he's the primary ball handler now since Patrick Beverly is the point guard. And I want to tell you, let's run down their roster. First thing they got to do is run more offense through Dwight Howard because 11 shots attempts a game. His career high for shot attempts a game was 13. When he put up 13 shot attempts a game, he put up 22 points. And the other year, he put up 13 shots a game, he put up 20 points. You telling me in Houston Rockets, you signed a dude to a max contract and give him 11 shots a game, and he put up 18 points on 59% shooting. So you telling me you only gonna give him 11 shots if he putting up 59% of his shots in the basket? That's crazy. But we gonna go down the roster. They lose out on Chandler Parsons, who's a better playmaker and scorer than Trevor Ariza, who's a better defender and rebounder than me. They get Trevor Ariza, he's 29 years old. They have a guy named Jeff Adrian, Patrick Beverly, Isaiah Cannon, who's a young point guard who can show that he can score and shoot. He's young. They got a center that's 20. They got another dude named Robert Covington, who's 23. Troy Daniels, Joey Dorsey, Francisco Garcia, who's just a role player and a shooter. Alonzo G, another prospect, and he's 27. He's a 27-year-old prospect because he still haven't figured out his game, man. He still haven't had a huge impact in the NBA. Jordan Hamilton, who got some play last year, showed that he can score and shoot. Prospect, still got a lot of stuff to develop on. A guy named Scotty Hobson, another guy that probably ain't gonna get that much clock. He's 25. He's another 6'7" shooting guard. Then you got Nick Johnson, a 21-year-old out of Arizona. He's only 6'3". He's a 6'3" shooting guard. That's too small to be a shooting guard anyway. Terrence Jones, who's still showing that he can score. He's proved his jump shot, improved his defense. He's still a prospect to me. He still has a lot of stuff. His free throw shooting, his post game, his shooting still has to improve. His defense and rotation still got to improve. He's still a huge prospect, but he's 22 years old and he has a lot of stuff to improve. Dantas Montiunas is another guy. He's only 23. He's 7-footer. He has a lot of defensively, offensively, consistently. He has a lot to improve on. Josh Podwell is another role player. He's 31, power forward. And Ish Smith is another guy who's decent, but don't get their whole roster is full of mediocre players. These players are not huge impact players. The only impact players on that roster is Francisco Garcia, who's just a shooter, Patrick Beverly, who's just a good defender and can shoot every now and then, Trevor Ariza, who's obviously a starter, not the best starter for a small forward, but he's serviceable. This team is in trouble. You know, they still might make the playoffs just because they got James Harden and Dwight, and if Dwight Howard get more shot attempts, like I said, if he gets 16 or even if he get to 13, that's still almost 50 points between him and James Harden by themselves. And then Trevor Ariza might put in 10 to 13 points. So, and then you still got Garcia probably going to put in a couple threes. Patrick Beverly might put in a couple points. But they got a lot of mediocre role players. The whole point I want to go down a roster. A lot of these role players are mediocre and bench warmers on other teams. And this is who they have to work with their roster. So can the Houston Rockets make the playoffs in the Western Conference with a roster like that? Even though they did it with James Harden first year, he had a mediocre team. Jeremy Lin was, to me, the second best player on that team. Chandler Parsons was the third that year he first came to Houston. Maybe you can put Chandler Parsons second. And they made the playoffs in the West, but they was the last seed. They get Dwight Howard, that moved them up higher in the seeding. But this year, their roster, to me, took a step backwards all around. But I said they still might make the playoffs just off James Harden and Dwight Howard talent alone. The role players are going to be asked to do nothing besides knock down open shots and lay up and cut to the basket, knock down threes, and get to the free throw line. I'm worried about this Houston team. Dwight Howard, I think after next year he can become a free agent. If I was Dwight Howard, I wouldn't come back to Houston. They gotta put more talent around them if they want to win the championship. The whole goal in the NBA is to win a championship. Houston, to me, with the roster moves and the roster they got right now, they have a long way to go. They better than other teams because they got 2 stars, but they got a long way to go before they're a championship team. Luckily, their 2 stars are still in their 20s. Dwight Howard is almost out of his 20s, though. James Harden in his early 20s. This team has a lot of stuff to get right before they can compete for a championship. But with Ariza, Harden, and Dwight, that might be enough just to make the playoffs just with them guys to defense. And offensively, they can put up enough points to keep them going. And Beverly is another defender. They need to improve a lot on their defense anyway. They need to improve a lot on their play calling, too. Kevin McHale needs to step his play calling up. They got a weird kind of offense to me. It's a lot. That up-tempo champ don't never win championships. I'm going to cut the video short. I didn't want over 9 minutes. Comment, like, subscribe. I reply to every comment. Like if you enjoyed the video. Share it to show support. Subscribe. And check out my older videos. Subscribe if you want to see more videos. And check out my other videos, my older videos, to get a taste of what the channel is about before you subscribe. Houston, to me, they got to do better moves if they want to win championships. They didn't even get out the first round last year, and their team, to me, is worse than it was last year. Quinn W20 out.